So, there have been several studies showing that diet soda not only increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, but that the increased risk is actually significantly more than the amount that your risk of type 2 diabetes increases from drinking regular soda.
I'm not sure if your biology teachers were anything like mine, but one of the biggest phrases that my biology teacher always drove into my head was that correlation does not mean causation. And the correlation that artificial sweetener users are more likely to be diabetic is likely an example of reverse causation. It's not that the artificial sweeteners cause the diabetes. Rather, it's the fact that diabetics are more likely to try and go on a diet and reduce their sugar intake, and to do so they turn to artificially sweetened beverages and foods to cut out foods with a substantial amount of carbohydrates because they have a difficulty regulating their blood glucose levels. So if we do actually look at the study mentioned in this video, it was in fact an epidemiological study, which is written right here in French. And this is a study in which they observe behaviors and they observe certain endpoints, such as epidemiological studies demonstrating that things like higher protein intake are correlated with higher bone mass, and typically higher fruit and vegetable intake are correlated with healthier individuals and lower risk of type 2 diabetes. And in this study, they observed that sugar-sweetened beverages and artificially sweetened beverages were associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. But in their conclusion, they also mentioned they can't rule out the fact that other factors other than the consumption of artificially sweetened beverages could be responsible for the association with diabetes. And finally, they say that randomized trials are required to prove a causal link with artificially sweetened beverages and type 2 diabetes. And luckily, very recently, there was a meta-analysis of randomized control trials. A meta-analysis is when you take all of the randomized control trials published in the literature and basically write up a big summary of all of it. And they found that in randomized control trials, the consumption of artificially sweetened and stevia-based sweeteners aids in a reduction in body weight, fat mass, and fat-free mass. It is important to note the reduction in fat-free mass, and this means lean mass, which is potentially muscle mass. However, we do know that higher protein diets, resistance training, and proper sleep can help mitigate any reduction in fat-free mass. The thing to remember is that at the end of most epidemiological studies, the authors often mention that randomized control trials are necessary for proving causation. The reason that artificially sweetened beverages are likely correlated with type 2 diabetes is because type 2 diabetics are more likely to try and use artificially sweetened beverages to lose weight. And when we look at the randomized control trials, the artificially sweetened beverages absolutely do not lead to weight gain in type 2 diabetes. Rather, they are beneficial and aid in fat reduction. Additionally, a beautiful randomized control trial comparing water and non-nutritive sweetened beverages actually found that the non-nutritive sweetened beverages were superior for weight loss and weight maintenance. And this is almost assuredly due to the fact that they allow an individual to eat less food. So I hope this is a demonstration that just because a study or journal article says that there's a correlation between two variables doesn't mean one causes the other. And if randomized control trials are available for evidence, we should almost certainly take them into account. And if you want to take control of your health and energy and avoid a lot of the misinformation online, send me a DM to sign up for coaching.